go back to you. Thank you.
Call this meeting in order. I'll stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Britton Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yoakum's here. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion that we approve minutes.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims.
Make a motion that we approve claims.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you vote, Britt?
I did. Aye.
Approval of payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
Second the motion to approve payroll.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Monthly treasurer's report. Let's see her today. If you want to read that, it's available. Public comment. Anybody here with public comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lori Bauslaw, County Extension Director with Purdue Extension here in Vermilion County. I am happy to share that, as you all remember, Becky Holbert retired in November, and we have a new 4-H youth development extension educator starting May 22nd.
Great.
Awesome.
So just thought I would share that with you. We're excited about that, and we appreciate your support.
Who is the new person?
Morgan Lutz.
Morgan.
Lutz.
Okay. From here, around here?
She grew up in Vermilion County. She's a former 4-H member here.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Anybody else? Public comment? We'll move on. We always also have public comment at the end in case some of you are holding it out. You can do it later also. Thrive West Central, Brownfield Properties in Vermilion County. Julie Hart.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've got good news too.
We'll take all the good news you have.
Yeah. So, Thrive West Central.
Identify yourself.
I'm sorry, Christine Kruger, Thrive West Central, and I'm here to talk about the receipt of a EPA Brownfield grant for Vermilion County-wide assessments. So we received $400,000 in funding to do environmental assessments throughout the county to determine brownfields and what we call phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 determines if there is a need to go on to a phase 2, which is much more in depth of an assessment to see if there's any potential hazards on those spots, and then gives us the data information that we need that could proceed if we need to clean up, if it's okay, or what we could do. So we're working with redevelopment. We're trying to locate properties, assess them, and we're going to develop a redevelopment plan to help assist and figure out which ones may be priority, which communities are involved, and so forth and so on. So part of what we're here today is we're kicking off our public involvement. I believe we've provided you what we call a RAC card. It's a copy of a card that we're using to help our education piece. It describes a little bit about what we're doing. It talks a little bit about what a brownfield is. Most people don't realize brownfield could, mostly it's a vacant property that's been left. It doesn't mean there's something there. When we do the assessments, we are looking to see if there is any hazards there. So when we go in, we're not even assuming the property is, we're looking. So part of that, then, those cards, we are also going to all of the towns and talking to them. We're asking for public involvement and ideas as to what properties they may feel would be appropriate for the program. The final intent basically is, once we get the redevelopment plan finished, we hope to find 2-3 properties and go after a cleanup project or cleanup EPA grant. That would allow us to then address those properties and then move you to a point where you can redevelop that property to what is the needs of the community may be. We have seen redevelopment for housing purposes. We've seen it used for parks. Some areas that have been cleared up have been community centers, and some of them are just green space. So there's a lot of potential. We've also seen some businesses come in some areas once those buildings have been removed. We are working really heavily with the town of Dana right now on some of their projects. So there's a few properties there that they have questions on. So as we move forward with public involvement, we anticipate being at your 4-H fair with a little canopy there, and we'll be educating the public as well as asking them for input. We're using technology, this amazing thing nowadays. I'm learning a lot every day. Well, we've got a gentleman who has designed, not a software, but we're using a software where all a person would have to do is go up to the screen and point to the place where they feel that brownfield would be. That keeps it anonymous. Nobody's pointing the finger at anybody else, and they don't even have to tell us who they are. So they're just going to point it out. He collects that data, then we come back and look internally and on the records and see if that's the next potential one to look at. So that's what we're doing. We would like to know if there's anything that we are missing or you feel we can go out and do further. If you had any comments on our rack cards before we get them published. And we are looking for a place to do a kickoff. We have contracted with Atlas Environmental Engineers. They will be the ones that are doing the assessments. So they're the ones that are going to be talking to the owners and actually going out there and looking at those properties. So we are hoping to do a kickoff with Atlas, middle of June. But we're busy, we're not. I'll let you know, we're really busy.
Is this a public and private property?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
who pays for this cost?
So the assessments are paid by the grant.
No participation from the county or
No.
other entities?
Mm-hmm.
What's liabilities associated with this?
Pardon me?
What liabilities are associated with this?
No, none. So what an assessment would be if, let's say the town of Dana, because we've been working with the town, they have a property that redevelopment owns. Redevelopment assigns a we consent type of form that you can go on and look at the property and do the assessments. That is it. There is nothing with the county, nothing with the redevelopment.
Do you assess whether insurance companies are involved or not, would be involved or not?
That would only come after the assessment comes back and if there's anything found.
And who does the part 2 of the assessments?
Pardon me?
Who does the second phase of the assessments?
That would also be Atlas. So when the first phase comes back and says, we might have some problems, we recommend to do a second. At which point they go back to the owner, whomever that may be, private or public, and discuss it with them. And then they determine if they do a phase 2 or not. Okay.
Who pays for the phase 2
Again, it would be that grant.
grant? Wow.
Correct.
And phase 3?
There is no phase 3.
Cleanup.
That's the cleanup, and that's what we're hoping to do then once we get this database that we can use, and then write up a grant and try to get cleanup for 2 or 3 properties. It depends on how large the property is, the type of, potential hazards, things like that, as to how many properties we could request funding for. But that would be the next stage.
And then there would be participation in the phase 3?
That portion, we can talk about who the partners are and who wants to be involved at that point. But at this point, we've left that open.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a lot of recommendations or suggestions from people in the public, and these are private properties that are potential brownfield site, Thrive won't do anything with these private entities if they don't consent to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So Atlas will contact the owner of the property, and if the owner says no, we walk away.
I can see that happening with several
Yes.
several landowners. So I want to just clear.
Yeah, we have been told there's a few places. And that's, you know, we respect that. If they choose not to, they choose not to. There'll be plenty of other ones that we can use the money for.
Thank you.
Is there, how much limitation says could be, you know, places of contaminated waste and whatever? How, I mean, there's a lot of these older buildings, would they classify as with that type of classification because of the older material in them?
Well,
This and-
some could be, okay. And I think what you may be referring to be like the asbestos and the lead stuff,
Yeah.
that stuff. That's not considered a high hazard,
Okay.
okay? So the assessment would come back and say, oh, due to the age, we didn't look specifically, but due to the age, asbestos would probably be here. If that be before you do anything with the building, do a formal inspection, make sure you follow those rules and regulations to have it removed. Okay? But yeah, a lot of times they're looking for it more. They will look at the history of the property also, so that will also give them some indication. So obviously if it was used as a gas station versus, you know, a rental, totally two different things.
And if, say, if you would find a potential site and the property owner would agree, would the funding be there that they wouldn't have to pay anything to get it cleaned up, or would it, how would it work?
This grant does not have funding to help them clean up. So they would have a few different ways of doing it, either themselves, Atlas will help guide them through some other resources, or they wait and see if we can put them in on the cleanup grant. Okay. So the only time, and I know you guys are concerned about the insurance is dealt with only after and if the assessment finds me. And then that's a whole different mechanism that the Atlas will help us maneuver, but it's pretty far removed at this point.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Well, help us spread the word, guys. If you hear anything, and if you know of any properties that you feel you'd like to have on that list, please feel free to contact us, or be sure redevelopment has it.
Do you have something that we can put on our website to identify this?
We can bring, we can share the rec cards and some other items with you.
Okay.
Okay?
Say someone will be at the fair this year.
Yes, we plan to be there, with our little pads to have people put on their dots.
Very
Okay.
helpful.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Vermillion County Justice Reinvestment Council, Amanda Adams.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Danielle Snyder. I'm with West Central Regional Community Corrections.
I'm Mandy Adams Washburn. I'm with Hamilton Center. You guys see me a lot.
We're just here today to talk a little bit about the Justice Reinvestment Council. In 2021, House Enrolled Act 1068 established what's considered a local justice reinvestment advisory council. And what that is there's 9 members that are required by statute to attend these board meetings and be a part. And it is a team that works internally in your county to move forward your criminal justice system. It's a requirement. Mr. Yoakum sits on that board. Currently, it is Judge Robert Hall sitting there because Judge Wesh is no longer with us. Mr. Yoakum, Ashley James is our member for the council. So it's a council member, commissioner, a judge, prosecutor, Mr. Ackerman sits, and also Chris Reed will join in on the meetings. Mental health director, that's where Mandy comes in. A public defender, Mike Slagle, sits on that board now. And Chief Probation Officer David Robinson, and the Community Corrections Director, which is myself. So what this is a state mandated group that works together to identify the needs and coordinate your local community justice decisions.
So really what we're looking to do is kind of fill the gaps in the community, you know, between mental health, between justice, where do we need more services, where can we look to fill the gaps, help our community members out that are really involved in justice. What we're noticing is that some of the newer grants that are coming out are asking whether or not your county has a JRAC, whether or not that JRAC is involved, and whether they're participating and working together. So that will be pretty vital moving forward for any grants that are coming due, especially in the justice realm right now.
Basically, what we foresee from what we're hearing from legislators and just the intent of this entire part of the code is they will start looking to this group to determine any grants that come into your county that have anything to do with the criminal justice system. They're going to want this group to have some type of say in those grants. Not necessarily make the decision, but they want you to at least consult. So in other words, if the prosecutor wants to submit a grant, he should come to this group and discuss that grant. You know, if he's going to submit a grant for something someone else is doing, you know, that's the whole idea. We're not working in silos, we're working together, coordinating, and identifying the needs in your community and working to address them together. And those grants that are coming in for the judges, for community corrections, I know for Hamilton Center, already have a box that says, has your local Justice Reinvestment Council reviewed this and signed off on it. So basically they're not saying they are going to be the decision maker, but they want consultants. In other words, if you're going to build something that has nothing to do with your need in your community, your JRAC should say, why are you doing this? This is our need. But it's to help guide you as a county, a commissioner, and a council to better allocate funds in your community to the appropriate places, and you'll have key team members to help give you that advisement. And with that said, one of the first things that they have brought up that the JRAC should be involved in, not control, please understand, just be involved in, is the opioid settlement funds. And I think that's one of the reasons Mr. Yoakum asked us to speak today, was because we've discussed as a group, we know you have those monies, we know people are going to be coming to you to make those, and you're going to have to make decisions on what to do with those monies. And so right now that group is working together to propose to the council and commissioners a process by the means where there would be an application that someone would fill out for those funds. Then that application would come to like the local JRAC, we would all look at it, and then we would sign off what our recommendations would be as your Vermilion County, you know, Justice Reinvestment Council, what their recommendations are for that funding, and then it would be presented to you to make a decision if you want to fund that and at what level, etc. And then there would also be a completion form later that they would have to complete to prove that they did things. It would, and there would be a fund number set up, of course, for these funds. It'd be very much like your LCC. I'm sure you're all familiar with your local LCC, and we're actually going to join. She's actually the president of the LCC, so we're working to have those meetings together because they're very key in the community on already knowing what your needs are. So if this team can work together and then build off their application, we're trying to make this seamless for you.
So our first meeting together will be in October, I believe, because LCC doesn't meet for July or August. So, and then JRAC only meets once a quarter, so that'll put us in October for our first meeting together.
So basically, we just want to let you know we are working on an application. We're not saying that's what you have to do, but we're trying to work together as a group to give you a trackable means to provide, you know, this funding into your community and a way to evaluate its success and if you want to refund things. So we're just trying to find a ways. And is that kind of what you wanted to discuss today, Mr. Yoakum? He's a part of that group, and so we wanted to be sure. I know he wanted us to share about the, you know, opiate settlement dollars. It's not that anyone's trying to control them. It's just you getting advice from a group that money involves. And there's, you know, and the application actually even details if it's a restricted or non-restricted fund. You would apply for monies, and you would have, so you know exactly what they're asking for and that it meets your needs. So when you have to have any accountability for those funds later, you would have all that in place.
Okay.
Any questions for us?
Yeah, you said should or shall. Does anybody that's applying for these grants, it's only a should? They don't have to send anything to you all?
Right now, it's just right now it's a they're starting to say you should have your local, but we look, within the next 5 years, I would say it's going to be a shall. It's going to be, I know for some of our grants, if we don't mark the box that there's a local JRAC meeting, convening, and actively turning in the reports and annually to the state, we will not be able to apply for those funds. That's where it will be going. I'm very confident.
You mentioned that you're meeting quarterly, but some of these grants come in between those times and need decisions before those times. Is that not an issue, potential issue?
We may have to meet more. It's just this just got started. The group's been meeting for a year and a half. I mean, they've worked through bylaws, mission and vision statements, and we've been doing mapping of the entire criminal justice system. So we've had some projects that we've been working on just to get started. So, but when that does occur and things are something that they shall do, I'm sure meetings are going to have to maybe be monthly. We're making it up as we go because we're reacting to statute.
Right.
Sure.
You know, it was like, do this yesterday. And so now we are actively involved. We have a great group. They all show up.
I will say that Vermilion County is ahead of a lot of other counties in the state. You know, we're actually meeting. We've actually gotten started on our mapping. We pretty much made it through that process in the last year, which is really great. Kind of shows us where we've got some gaps, which is great moving forward. But again, we're ahead of some of the other counties in the state that haven't yet gathered together everybody that they need to start meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's kind of still in the beginning stages.
Yes, because this was a shall, as far as this group. It wasn't a recommendation, it was you will do this.
Yeah.
And we actually have requirements and reports that are submitted to the state annually, and so they are checking on us.
You mentioned that you'll provide reports from the committee. Is that just the annual report, or is there reports that come out to
There's an
to
annual
who,
report.
to who, and how often?
Okay. Right now, the JRAC is tasked with filing an annual report, and now, starting January 1, each quarter they will actually submit a report to the state on any local electronic monitoring going on in your community, which Community Corrections does currently. So we provide a report to JRAC at the end of the quarter, and then the JRAC has to then submit that documentation to the state. And so those are two reports that they're required to do at the current time.
How does the county use this information? It sounds like this is a state function, but how, other than the members that are on that board, how does it get acted upon in the county itself?
We're actually trying to develop that. It was one of those things, they said, create this board, these are some of your tasks, these reports, and here's your, create a mission and vision, but here's your ultimate goal. We want a coordinated justice system that's working together. All your silos are broke down. All of you are at the same table discussing your needs and identifying in your community what those needs are. The sheriff may think there's needs, and probation may think there's other needs, and the whole idea is we sit down and we use data, combine data, and figure out what are those needs, so that we're making sure that Vermilion County is addressing what they want, not just what somebody thinks they need.
But how are those decisions made? So the sheriff wants a thing, probation wants something different or related, but how do you make the decision then?
Basically, it's discussion right now, and there is no decisions or anything grant-wise. It's just going to be recommendations initially.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, this is so new that it's one of those things, legislation's coming down each time telling us new things to do. So the board is so new that right now we're just trying to get established, and I really wish I could answer those questions, but
That's fine. I
I just
understand.
can't. But I do think it's going to be very key. It's going to be key that the commissioners have someone present, and the council, and it's going to assist you. When you're in those meetings, you're going to realize, oh, possibly the sheriff's department, they really do need this thing in their budget, because I understand. I'm in a meeting understanding more what they're discussing. I think it's just everybody's learning about each other and what we all do instead of just assuming what we all do.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Very good, thank you for coming.
No problem, thank you. And it is a public meeting, so we can share those, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. EOC lease agreement, Mark, you here?
Vermilion County MA, Mark O'Hara.
Britton asked me about a month ago to have something in place for budget submittal on the EOC lease. Typically, first of the year, we just sign a lease after every 4 years, and it hasn't changed. So I sat down with the mayor, ran through the old lease, nothing changed, everything stayed the same. Forwarded to you guys, the city's agreed to the lease as it's written, forwarded it to you guys last week, and you have copies in front of you today. I'm here to get signatures. After I get these, I'll go get his if he's in the office today, and it'll be done for the next 4 years.
$7,000 a year, right?
$7,000 a year. We pay 1/3 of the electric bill. We pay a gas meter that's only for the EOC. We pay a water bill that's for the kitchen and the bathroom for the EOC. We collect lease money. Okay. In the end, it's about a wash. We are in that office for free with the money that we lease out property for. Currently, the prosecutor, the probation office, and public defender are working out of 2 offices, and the foundation is working out of 2 offices.
How much is that roughly that generate?
The money that it generates, I don't know, I've given you a report on that before. I'm thinking that's like $14,000 a
That's
year.
not a wash.
Yeah.
Good.
And when I say a wash, I'm talking with the electric bills we pay, the gas bills we pay, the water bills we pay. These things are all recouped. So.
We also pay the diesel cost from the generator as well.
Right. And I have set that up with the new contractor, May and November. They're going to come top the tank off. If we have a large run in between, I contact him and he comes and tops it off.
Who you got doing the maintenance on that now?
The city has the maintenance on that. The city owns that generator now, as of about 10 years ago. Originally, we maintained it, and we filled the diesel, we did everything, and as part of the first contract, when the new mayor took over, they did 4 years where we maintained the generator, and then after that, they took over the responsibility for it.
Okay.
And they do have issues with their vendor once in a while, but they don't have an issue with the generator. It runs when it needs to run. So.
With the election year being here, I wanted to get this done before we got into the November and December cycle where everything might turn topsy-turvy, and so I suggest that we approve the lease, and I'll make a motion accordingly.
And I have a
With the
copy
city
here
of
for
Clinton.
signature. Okay.
It will be effective.
Okay, and I. Okay. 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 Okay.
Be effective FY24, January 1st, 24.
Did you put your name on there, Brenda, to sign too?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Good to go. So if I can get a copy of that before I leave at the end of the meeting.
No problem. Next, we've got Board of Health. A couple of different items there. Union Annex consideration. Britt's been heading that up.
Still work in progress. Looking at what I call an annex, but it's across from the hospital, the building that Ileana's currently in. Getting very close to being able to come to agreement with Union, or having an agreement in place between Union Hospital, Ileana, and the Board of Health, the coroner, and I guess those are the entities that are involved. I think I've got an agreement and everybody's satisfied with the premise of being able to move the Board of Health over to that building. It provides actually a number of things. One, it gives actual office space, moves it out of the house that they currently have as far as the Board of Health is concerned. It provides parking that they don't have now where there's a current location at the house. It's also owned by Union Hospital as well. It provides a reception area, and it looks like we'll be able to have a receptionist to be able to cater to both the Board of Health and to the coroner. This would move the coroner, actually provide the coroner with an office space to be able to store records and or have an office, a true office anyway, as opposed to what's currently happening. Ileana's been in agreement with being able to do these things. There'll be an adjustment to the contract, still working on what that might be with Ileana for the payment of the building, and also it appears that it'll be a better cost to the county for the Board of Health. Basically, the leases that would come from this would be all-inclusive, it's like a resort. Get all the custodial services, all utilities, and space, plus whatever improvements. We would have some costs that may take at least the initial, I don't know if you call it savings, but the additional cost, reduction in cost, because of having to move the computer systems from the current Board of Health over to, or the network systems over to the annex. I got a cost on that yet, so I need to look at that. But we'd have to move that plus the programming that the state requires, and then also make sure that basically they're tied into the county network like they are currently. Parking issues at the current position or at the current building during COVID was they had to have traffic control. There's just no real parking there, and there's no handicap or ADA type parking there either. So ADA parking would have to find a place and then try to get to the building after that. This resolves all those issues. It ties together our hospital, ambulance, coroner into one location. It looks like it may also provide us a receptionist for the coroner, where we might be able to resolve some communication issues that we've had in the past as well, and provide a storage place for records. So it looks like a lot of positives here. Hopefully I'll have this tied up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to move forward with that. Board of Health so far is in agreement with it, coroner's in agreement with it, Niliana's in agreement with it, and the hospital's in agreement with it. So it's all in agreement.
The other thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, or maybe I missed it, but the amount that they're paying currently, the Board of Health, would be almost a wash.
It'd be less. Actually, it's less, because if you, not only is the lease, they're wanting more and more space. Yesterday it came up with more space requirements, so it may be a wash as far as the lease payment, the initial lease or the monthly payment. But right now it's less in cost, but it's also all inclusive, which means they're not paying a water bill, they're not paying an electric bill, they're not paying a gas bill, they're not paying for custodial services. All those things are included in the lease price, so it's more than a wash. It's actually less cost to the county for those services. Yeah, overall, I think I don't know where we're going to go wrong with this at this point anyway. It's all positive, and a reduction in cost as well, and providing the coroner with an office. So,
like you were saying, the access to it, access to the current is rough, getting in, getting out of there.
Well, and these are actually office spaces. The building that they're in now was a residential building. In fact, one of the offices is in the garage. Now it's got air conditioning and heating in it, but it's a garage. It's got a garage door. I mean, it was a house that was converted into office space.
Right.
So this becomes a true office. So
Another thing, like you mentioned, the Board of Health is in agreement with it, happy with it. Usually you make a move like this, and it's usually creates issues. It's nice when people want it. It's for the better of them too. So
I think it's positive. Yeah, it's a positive move.
So
we'll hopefully get this tied up in the next week, 2 weeks anyway.
So you think you have agreement by next meeting to present?
I'm hoping to. There's been some changes, so I'm still working. Well, actually, I think I worked through those yesterday. So need to reduce it to writing, and after we put it in writing, make sure everybody's still in agreement. So.
Right. I think it's very, very positive. Very, very positive for county and for local community. So, do we take care of all that even to the lease department, or any on your different items on there?
We need to, budgets are coming up here June 1st. We're already middle May, or first part of May anyway. We have these budgets that we're supposed to review, and there may be more on there. Those are just the ones that came to mind when I put the agenda in. What I'd like for us to do is divide these up among us and to be able to start reviewing these budgets. We're responsible for at least these, and there may be a couple more. Last year, the auditor was able to provide us with their outlay of what their budget was and what they've spent in the last year anyway, in the 2022 session. So anyway, these are due to the council June 1st, and we're supposed to be making recommendations to them, or as to what these budgets, good, bad, or indifferent, and or any increases that might be needed, or decreases for that matter. I don't know that all the departments, I was talked with Parks Department last meeting, and they didn't, we need to do a better job from a commissioner aspect anyway of looking at these costs and what we're assigning to them as far as what comes from the Vermilion Trails Alliance, where that actually goes to parks, does it, or where does it go as far as the cost of upkeep and so forth and responsibilities. Some people are trying to assign things to them as opposed that the commissioner's not assigning to them, and they try to do the best they can with the monies that they have. So we need to make sure that the responsibilities that we're obliged to do are taken care of, and address any new ones that might come along. And that's not just with parks, that's with the rest of these, and make sure that we're in good positions as far as the cost goes, and being able to make recommendations to the council as far as what the budget ought to have. Of course, it's up to them as to whether they fund things or not, but we need to be able to make those recommendations so that they have an understanding.
So these 6 listed, you want to split them up 2 apiece?
Yeah, and there may be more. Is there others? There may be others. These are just the ones that came to mind that
Sure.
I didn't take the time to look at the rest of them.
That's fine. Yeah, I'd be willing to split them up and take a few and sit down with the department heads.
If we can get that, we'll get the total list together, and then I guess we just need to talk and say
We'll just divvy
who's
up.
doing what,
That's
so that
fine.
we can touch base with the directors of those offices or office holders, whoever it might be anyway. I think these are all departments that we're responsible. We're not responsible for any office, offices or officials, if you will.
That's fine.
I'll try to get to that, or if Brendan can get that to us, and then we also need the information from her anyway as far as where those costs are. And then if we can have those ready for the next meeting to discuss anyway, or have a special meeting. It can be a special meeting, and maybe it's better to have a special meeting with that, considering the number of, it may take longer than what we'd want to spend in a regular meeting anyway.
Anything on the lease department?
On the what?
The lease department? Yuri?
Done with
Okay.
the budget items.
Next item, ordinance, Vermilion County Development Authority, Department of County.
I'd like to
Commissioners. Do what?
actually withdraw that ordinance for that. The county council approved a county resolution number 2023-05 last night. Basically, that replaces the ordinance from Wayne County Development Authority that was presented earlier. I'd like to make a motion that we approve county resolution number 2023-05, a joint resolution creating the Vermilion County Economic Development Coalition. It's a resolution between the county council and the county commissioners.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Yeah, Tim, I reached out to you this morning. I sent an email out last night. This resolution was shared with the commissioners late last night. Brenda, I'd have to ask time, 8 o'clock maybe? So for me to even attempt to vote on a resolution like this with no time to review, I think is just not prudent in any way. Sunday I was forwarded an ordinance that is similar to this resolution by John. I was still reviewing it yesterday and Sunday, and again, to vote on this resolution I think is just too quick. Excuse me. There's a couple items on here I sent out last night. John, on section, excuse me, on section 8, where all resolutions and ordinances or parts of ordinances or resolutions that are inconsistent with provisions of this resolution are repealed to the extent of that such inconsistency. When I read this, it talks about transferring, things to the authority from the commission currently. And there's a lot of things different from Ordinance 94-2 back in 1994. So my question is, as it was last night, will this do away with Ordinance 94-92 or 94-2?
To the extent that it's inconsistent with that, yes.
So then my follow-up with that is, do we have to do a complete another ordinance to create an economic development department, because that was part of the 94-2 ordinance? Because I wouldn't want to restart completely.
I would say no, that we don't have to create a new ordinance to do that.
You wouldn't have to?
I would not think so, no.
Okay. So you're saying in the 94-2, then it would only abolish, it wouldn't, so you're saying you could take parts of the ordinance out, you wouldn't have to do away with the whole ordinance then?
Unless we're specifically saying that we do away with that, then no, it would still exist to the extent that it wasn't inconsistent.
So it would just be parts of, like, let me look on here. So like the Vermilion County Council designates the commission controlling such department to be known as the Vermilion County Economic Development Commission, so that would be struck, because that would be inconsistent with the resolution. Or does a resolution override an ordinance?
No, they're not. They're two. The use of the term ordinance generally applies to something that is going to impose a penalty on the public.
Okay.
That we're doing something that says it's a fine if your grass is too tall, or
Okay.
we're going to make this a one-way road or something. A resolution usually expresses like an intent as to what the county is going to do, like
Okay.
like an internal operation sort of question.
This has been discussed for a year and a half, and talking with the council, and I think Brent is also, it's been discussed for a long time, and I don't think there's that much terminology change or anything that needs to be done. I know the council, unanimous, 100% passed it last night.
Well, and there's no, I have no objection to that. The objection I have is we've been pretty prudent as commissioners over the last 3 years on not voting for stuff on a, I don't want to say on a whim, but 8 o'clock last night, if I hadn't checked my email, I would have not known this resolution was going to be on the agenda this morning. And I'd called you this morning and I asked for this to be tabled for time for consideration, to allow thoughts. I mean, I have a, I have a file here of paperwork that I was reading over Sunday night over the ordinance that was being proposed. And, I do all this research, I get my comments ready, and then find out the ordinance is being changed to a resolution, which is fine, but again, to not allow members time to produce their thoughts or opinions, I just think is a bad way of business. And I think it's just different from what we've set the standard to be. With the trails, whoever it may be that comes before us, we always say we need time to review documents. And last night I've been given less than 8 hours to review this resolution. Even though it's a small difference from the ordinance, but that is a big change from Sunday to Monday. So again, I mean, there's a motion and a second on the floor. I think I've given all my comments. I still have comments to give, but I'm not sure they're going to make any difference today if you guys are willing to pass this without any more discussion.
Brent, you got a comment?
This is something that's been going on since, actually it's the intent, at least the intent I had going forward about between a year and a half ago, when this Economic Development Council existed at one time. Because of the nature of it, it was supposed to be developed where the Economic Development Department would be underneath the commissioners, and somehow that got convoluted over the period of time, probably because I didn't follow up to make sure that it came through in that manner. This does immortalize that into where it was intended to go from the beginning. And I think there's little difference between the ordinance and the resolution. I don't know if there is any difference between ordinance and resolution. I don't recall reading anything different, other than it's a resolution that, because it's with the county council and it's been developed over back and forth between attorneys for over a month now, or actually longer than that probably.
Britton, did you have a copy of this potentially before last night at 8 p.m. or no? Did you receive it at the same time we all?
The only thing I had was what John sent.
On Sunday?
I don't know when it was sent.
Okay. That's just my only thing is that I just wish there was a little bit better communication on these ordinances or resolution, and I'm not objecting to the resolutions or ordinances. I just have some fundamental questions that, John, I think you answered some of them here today. But it is hard to, call people and email people at 9 p.m. at night when they're sleeping or maybe doing other things with their family. Again, I just would like to publicly, say my objections to trying to pass this without any time for review or comments, and I'll leave it at that.
Call for the vote.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye. And just as another few 2 sentences, I'm not opposed to the resolution or ordinance. I'm opposed to being sent at 8 o'clock at night and not having time to review it and offer comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Comment accepted. Moving on. Budget June the 1st. Is that what we're still talking about? Bringing forth the budgets to look at them.
And with that as well, we need to set a date and get together for the highway budget as well as the Commissioner's Court as well. I think we all have probably ideas, or if we want to add things, subtract things, so we probably should coordinate
Well,
that.
should have been in on this budget item.
Yeah, put that in there with
What-
that.
What date are we setting this by? June the 1st? To
If you guys want to just pick we can probably just pick a day and meet, have like a work session.
I get it back to me by July 1st. It's not
July
July
1st.
1st, it's the end of June.
Oh,
I'm sure we can pick a day in May.
yeah. I was thinking May.
Just a deadline. Like, it depends on what day it's on.
You need-
I
you-
think I looked at it, I think it's gonna be like June 28th.
You need to tell us June 1st, Brenda. Don't tell us July,
Yes,
because
sir.
then we.
Okay, June 1st.
You tell us July 1st, we may wait till the end
We'll
of
wait
June.
until June 1st.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell
I
us June
agree.
1st, so we'll make sure we can do it in May. We can just email some dates between you guys if that's all right, and we'll.
Get back with you on
Yeah.
It'll be a special meeting, I guess, at that point.
Especially if we're gonna do this hour timeline on meetings, there's no way we could do a.
Well, I think the one thing that'll be different here, I think, is if we divide this up and then.
Bring it back.
Well, then we're kind of responsible to make sure we understand the budget so we can describe it as to the other two commissioners as to what.
I think
pluses and
it's a good
minuses
idea
to it.
dividing it up.
And hopefully it will go quickly, or a lot better than what, well, I don't know, we did it last time even, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let's go on down to open issues. The budget carried all that, I believe in that. ARP monies. Where are we at still on it? Like 2.6, 2.4, you think, Brenda, somewhere? What?
I have some of my money allocation. I do not have them all. It is harder than what I anticipated, I'm guessing, unless you guys just want me to throw a random number with some of
No,
mine.
this needs a lot of thought,
Yeah, I
because
mean-
it's a finite amount of money, and we have, at least, I know we have more projects that we could spend it on than what we have money, so I think it's necessary that we make sure that we're allocating them where they do the best for the county anyway.
One of the things that I think that I would like to see done, it considers public health. I lived in the country all my life and always lived off a well, and I would like to see partner with Soil and Water some way to start a program that try to get 100% of the wells tested in Vermilion County. Some of them could be a problem, and especially with the youth. There's things in wells that affect youth. I know one person personally that a child died from the well, and that's stuck in my mind ever since that happened to him, and it's been in my mind ever since. And I'm thinking, why don't we try to make a lasting impact upon the health of our community and develop a program that try to get 100% of all homes tested to have wells, and provide that service through some ARP funding to, maybe make a difference in the future of our children, and I think it's a good idea. It might be money well spent. I don't know how yet to implement it, but I'm kind of bringing the idea up first to see what you all guys would think about it.
Kind of the idea here is that we list all these things that we would want to have funded, if you will, and then start prioritizing, because I think when we get to it, and you should list this, but you need to assign a value to it too.
Okay.
Another thing that I think is a good point that you're making is that Soil and Water actually does this, and they're probably, I assume that they'll be at the county fair this year.
Yeah.
It's a voluntary, if people don't understand it, it's a voluntary service that you take your water samples, they give you a format of how to collect a sample, and then they will have it analyzed, at least for certain parameters, common parameters anyway. There's not a test for everything, but for the things that we know that are an issue, they do test that. And so right now it's voluntary. If you don't go take advantage of it, the question is, how do we get more participation, I guess. But wells are an issue, even public water supplies that are not wells, even though those are tested a little bit more. When it gets to a house, it can cause other problems, like what happened in Detroit with the lead issues and so forth, and the change of water. And
That would
pipes.
also take in municipal water also, because the lead and copper issue is not with the water company, it's with the homeowner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's things that aren't tested for, but anyway, yeah, put that on the ARP list, and we need to get that to a point.
Yeah.
What's our deadline on the ARP monies?
2024 has got to be allocated, it's got to be spent by 2026.
Okay. It's creeping up on us. We've had it for 2 years now, or a year to 2 years, and we need to get it. We need to know where we want to spend the money. It's not that it won't change and something else comes in and become a priority, but I'd like to know where we're going to spend it, because we keep saying, oh, we can use it for this, we can use it for that, and if we went with all of our wishes, it'd be gone by now. So.
Then, like you said, I think working with Soil and Water and just asking them to maybe expand that program at the fair would be a start of it.
Or how can we help them get there?
Since they're already doing it, I think, if they've got ideas, maybe just piggyback off them and say, hey, we want to do a whole county thing, but what's your ideas? Maybe it's mobile well testing, maybe it's this or that, but yeah, I think get with them, and like you said, put some money amounts with all these, and then at some point the three of us need to vote on our ideas. And
the council has to approve this too. It's not just us. So
Originally it was, we didn't take council approval originally. It didn't.
Oh, I thought it did, but
it didn't originally.
Oh, originally, well, it's changed 100 times.
Well, it changed because we changed it over to council, but originally, I'm talking with Jim Meese, it was a commissioner's decision.
But anyway, it's not
fine,
just
so.
what we want.
Yep.
It's council's going to need to agree as
Which
well.
is fine.
Now.
Yep.
They're good to work with. One of the reasons why I talk about water, because I've been in the water business for 40 years, managing water utilities, and did a lot of management of water utilities and understand water. I mean, it's a very integral part of our society, and it's very vital. And some of this stuff can happen to these kids, and then after it happens, and you're facing with a problem with them for the rest of their life. And I have real passion about this, so I will proceed to get some more information, try to bring it back, and I'll talk with Eric over at Soil and Water and see if we can partner. But what they do is small compared to what we really want to do, so of course it takes some funding, but they might want to be like RJ was saying, they may want to be the main, the coordinator. So I think it's a good program. I'll get some more information for next time. County Annex Project Delivery. I will say that we have Mr. Graves here today. Mr. Graves is a gentleman who's going to be overseeing a project, and I met with him. He's very knowledgeable. He's local. I think he's got the county at heart, and I think he'll do a good job. He's going to find out here real shortly. So we're glad to have him here today. You want to talk about? You guys want to talk about that?
We're going through the construction manager constructor portion of this that's allowed for the counties. Mr. Graves is going to be the that's CMC for us and drive this forward. The architect is looking forward to meeting with you and getting through this first phase of looking at the estimates and truthing those out and providing some value engineering, if you will, and being able to make sure that what we're going to be wanting to do and we're wanting to have the annex look like and function as is consistent with what the materials and quality of labor and so forth that we're looking for. And so the next step is getting that truthing done and making sure that we understand what our costs are for what we're getting, and then we'll need to do another go, no-go decision at that point. And so welcome aboard, and looking forward to getting this. We do have a deadline, so
Yeah,
it's
I've seen the deadline, and I'm
sweating it.
I'm in process. I have a building permit to put on the building today, so.
It's also, I think we also have to get a state permit as well, so it's important that we get things moving
I
along.
contacted the state, and you know, you're playing phone tag with the state a little bit. Mike Francis was our inspector for a while. He retired in September last year.
Right.
And the new inspector has yet to be named to us. I think they've got a guy or a person named, but I've got a phone call in to whoever that's going to be, and they're supposed to return my call.
Good deal. Anyway, the architect's looking forward to meeting. I know Tim, Tim is the point of contact for this, and so you guys will be able to get things worked through. You don't have to worry about coming to RJ or myself unless Tim's just not available for some reason and a decision has to be made. But anyway, Tim's point of contact, and he'll keep us informed as to where we're going with it.
One of the things we are doing differently than most times, we're trying to do as much stuff we can do ourselves as far as the county. And Britt had some of them come in the other day and tear out the stuff inside that was going to have to be done anyway, and then the county did it. It saved us a large amount of money. Anytime we can use local people to get this done, we're cutting it back. So anytime you need anything and you think you can utilize county, let us know, because we're possibility. Not can't say for sure, but if we can get someone there that can do it and save us money, we're definitely interested in that. I will say that we met with the public defenders on that board. They had that meeting the other day, and they went and looked at the building, and they could tell a difference by the time they walked over there, because they really liked it. I mean, they was contented with just about everything. Just leave it like it is, you know. But I think that was a real good reception from them. The reception. So the design, that I think most people have seen the design on the building, is very well done, and they hit a home run on the design. But from here on out, we want to see what we can do to have a good product and cut costs and meet the deadline. And I think you'll have no problem doing that. I believe in you. You got confidence in you. So, but after the meeting, we're going to go next door. So we take you next door. You can see it. And you guys want to go all over together or whatever. Okay. So, have more discussion on that. County Highway Organization, County Engineer. I have not heard anything else back from LTAP about the meeting we will have with the two counties. So that's still out there. I will be proposing something in the budget this year for that, just to see if the cost of that, you know, like a $25,000, try to put it in the budget, so in case we do get that approved this year.
Are we waiting till FY24 for this?
We're ready. I mean, we're almost ready. I'm trying to coordinate with the other county. The other county, if they get their place, they sign something, then we're there. But I'm saying, if we don't put something in a budget, if it comes up in a lot of the year, you can't do it, right? You know what I'm saying?
You just have to ask for, money from the council. But
additional appropriation if it's not already budgeted.
Yeah, I mean, if it came to fruition, in 2 weeks and you needed $70,000 or $40,000, it would be out 30 days, or a special meeting from the council, which would be no less than 48 hours.
Well, as long as the council, I have that understanding that if this gets approved, I can go to the council and council approve it. I have no problem doing it later. I just didn't know if we ought to put in a budget a $25,000 for an engineer.
Sure.
And have it set there.
I'd say you can, but if Park County came to fruition earlier this year, at some point, it would be a matter of probably a 48-hour notice, and from our meeting to approve it, and then for them to.
But what I'm saying is, it would be better to go ahead and try to put it in the budget So.
Oh, yeah, that's-
Yes, we still need a budget for
Okay, that's
next
what I'm
year.
saying.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'd like to probably put like a $25,000.
But I'd like to move forward to getting an engineer on staff
Yeah.
this
But-
year.
On our side, we're moving there. The other side, we're trying to get that coordinated. So,
Have we advertised yet or anything to that effect?
well, they gotta go through the council and get the council approved this, and the council hasn't went yet. So I'm gonna get with Jim Neese, see if maybe I can go with him to the council to talk to them about it, to get, we're almost there, but we haven't moved.
Okay.
So, okay. Okay.
County superintendent.
Yeah. Right now we have Mike Clyke from District 1 has been overseeing 1 and 2. We got a special guy right there as far as his qualities and experience, and I know he's been working for the highway department for a long time. I know he's been working with Brenda and Kylie,
It's fantastic.
and they're very, very happy with what he does. He sees the big picture, and that's very important in our county with 3 highway garages, to see the whole picture and have someone who can utilize all 3 of them and control that. I think is very, very important. We as commissioners, a lot of times we get involved in decision making on roads and stuff, and I think that those decisions are stuff to be made by a highway superintendent and a county engineer. It's not that we'd be totally away from it, because we still can make decisions, but just good to have someone there, in my opinion, to oversee the entire county. We've made studies on that, and we've compared to a rate of pay. We already have that on hand, comparable to other counties, same position. And so I'm just saying I speak very highly of Mike, of his capabilities, and working with him, he's been a pleasure to work with, and I think he'll make a good fit to be over these 3 garages. So I'm just voicing my opinion. You all have your time to voice your opinions.
I think we should move forward and actually name him. We've been kind of trailing him along. He's been doing double duty here, doing a quasi superintendent's job without the official title anyway, nor the pay. And he's putting in the time and the effort to do things without necessarily us giving him authority, except by saying, hey, do this.
Right.
And so I think we should move forward and make this official. As a superintendent, I know we have some things to work out yet as far as the transition, but that's what's supposed to happen between now and January 1st of 24, is this transitional period of how all this will work and come together. I have my ideas of how it should be, but they're not necessarily in tune with what you all are thinking as well. But the superintendent, I think we've been in agreement with as far as being able to make this work. Plus, if we get a county engineer, he's not going to deal with 3 commissioners or 3 foremen, if you will. There'll still need to be one point of contact, and that is a superintendent. Mike is very good at what he does. He has a knack of being able to work with people, and with the public and with us. It makes it hard. He's knowledgeable. He does have the county's best interests. There's a number of things that I know we've spent money on that we shouldn't have, that he identifies and understands, and is very cost aware, very much preventive maintenance aware, and he cares about the guys that are working for County Highway. He keeps a very good balance between all those things. So.
If we do this, how would we, did the council say we could get the,
I didn't put it in front of them, I was waiting for you.
what?
You guys have to decide before it goes to the council.
Okay, do we have to?
Does
We'll
it
get
need to
funding,
go
we have to
before
create the position.
council? Actually, I think that question, I didn't think we had to necessarily go before council except to make a position.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
The money's there.
right. So I think that's where we should move forward, is to request this position. We already have a description in place for county superintendent, and make that a formal recommendation or formal request to the council. In the meantime, we're at another 30 days out, of which he's it's still kind of floating between things, or at least title-wise, and I think we've given it authority, and I think everything's accepted that way, but it's not official.
Yeah, the job description, there was a couple sent. Have we decided on which one? I know Brenda sent one out, and I think Britton sent another one.
Well, I took hers and revised, I made some suggestions for revisions.
Okay.
So,
No, I mean, I'd like to, well, first off, commend Mike for everything that he does. I think he's done an excellent job on that. I have no real objections to a county superintendent. My reservations in the past have always been, you know, the cost. If we are going to cut, you know, a highway secretary position, and if Mike is able to do those duties with the auditor's office, I think that's a good cost savings. You know, the ERC, all those positions. Hopefully Mike's up for all that. The pay was going to be what, 50-some thousand?
58,000.
58,000, you know, for the superintendent. Yeah, I'm not an objection to that. I will say before I go into a little bit other discussion about that, Mike does need, I believe, compensated for the last month,
Yes.
or I don't know how long it's been. I don't know what that compensation looks like, but I think he's been overworked. Well, I don't want to say overworked, but doing a lot more work than what he has been doing, and I think he's done well, but I do think it's prudent that we assign a number or a bonus, or I don't know what it is, how we pay him, but I'd like to do that. But in this transitional period, you know, I spoke to Brenda, the other commissioners. I do think there's some ideas on how the superintendent's going to work that I would like to sit down and have some administrative discussion with everybody on. I've got my opinion. I think Britton has his, and I'm sure Tim has his on how it's going to operate. So I'd be in favor of moving forward with this superintendent position at the salary of whatever Brenda listed, 58,000, with the condition that we do meet and sit down with Mike and make sure we all have an understanding, or at least a majority of an agreement, on how this is going to work in the future.
Sounds good. That salary, just so everyone knows, that's based on studies from the other counties of the same size. So anytime they do a wage, they look it up in the book and make sure we're competitive, not outpriced or underpriced, but somewhere in the vicinity of that. I do want to say that a lot of people don't realize in the county highway department, the difference between a boss job and a regular job is 79 cents an hour, I think it is, or 69 cents.
60-some odd.
60-some cents an hour between the guys who work and the guys managing. You can't, that's bad structure. You got to have something out there that these guys can look forward to working for, and advancement, and I think we need to, and I think Britt has looked at it, our pay structure for a county highway. How do we do it so they have potential to want to expand and build and to a higher level, and everyone working at the same level is not good.
No.
I mean, give them a chance to do something, and I think a building structure in there of something better. And again, like you said, when they get 60 cents an hour, who wants to be a boss for 60 cents an hour more? I mean, that's
A little more responsibility, a lot of pay.
you know.
But
So
I think we're all in favor of changing that pay structure. Just I think the council over the years has always said no, you're not doing that. So I think that's why it's kind of stayed where it's been at. But not saying that's right.
I think we can. There's ways that we can pay for that though, without. Well, council still need to approve it, but there's things that we can do to offset costs in some places to be able to make those costs effective. So,
and that's like I said, after Mike, give Mike a chance and let him look at the whole picture. You know, when someone looks at the whole picture, it's totally different than us looking at 3 different entities. There'll still be 3 different entities in a way, but yet someone overseeing it totally, I think it just make utilization of equipment, utilization of people. I mean, I think it would be.
So how long does, sorry Tim, how long does the council do they have to advertise this for an additional, or no? Could we, is there any way we could request the council to have a special meeting to get this, to get this moved forward to where Mike could, get his, pay and get the title officially set up, and then we can meet with him and say, Mike, you've got, 7 months, 6 months, or 3 months to kind of give us an idea of what you like, or maybe the rest of 2023 to kind of give us.
Is it true that the council needs to approve a position, or is that an operational thing?
Not the position, but the money that you're going to pay for it.
The transfer of the money.
Yeah.
Is it actually a transfer? Because I thought it's all in wages.
It is all.
So why is there a transfer?
It's a amended salary ordinance. Is what they
So a
have to
salary
do.
ordinance is what's required, okay.
So you can name Mike the superintendent today, but he just understands that he's still getting his
60 cents more
he's
an
still
hour.
getting that 41,000, 42,000 pay until
Have somebody approve
until they have the
something.
meeting. So I would like to request that we see that they have a special meeting.
Well, yeah, will they have a special meeting?
I just messaged Ashley.
They could, well, we only need 4 members. We can
Would it-
text them. We can text them all, right?
But they can make it
probably-
retroactive without it going to a special meeting, could they not?
I think they would still have to approve it in the meeting,
To
but they could
approve
probably,
it,
but
right.
yeah, they could retroact. I mean, yeah, if we want to name them today, they could probably retroactive it back to.
So how will they, the budget-wise, it is take it out of the other excess we have?
One line item and move it. We have to make the line item.
But my question to you all, if that's gonna affect that position that we had in District 2 garage, doing away with that, if that's gonna affect that, you guys, we need to be very firm on that, because once that's gone, it's gone. And I don't want you guys got enough to do.
I don't know
Well,
if
it is.
that changes, I mean, we could have 10 foremen if we wanted, the position's already there, it's just a matter of what we have funding for.
It's where the money's getting.
So you're saying you'll leave the position, just don't have no
I
money
mean, we
to
can
put
have,
back if you
we
want
can name
to.
everybody a foreman, we already have the position.
No, I'm
It's just a
talking
matter of
about
whether we
the-
have the monies to pay them.
Yeah, it's not the position as much as it is where the money.
You-
is.
you-
The problem we have with the superintendent is we don't have a name for a we don't have that in ordinance in superintendent.
You would ask that the line item not be deleted. That way, if you want to.
It won't be because there's 2 others. It's just
So
the
you
money
just-
in that line item that's being used somewhere else.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I don't want that position to totally go away in case we need to do it later.
I'm
We
saying
can
it doesn't go
fund it.
away.
Huh?
It doesn't go away, it's
Okay,
still there.
that's the main thing I want to say, and so in case something does happen, we have to go back and do it, the position will still be there. But we're just going to take the funding out of that position, right? Is that the plan, Brenda?
We're gonna reallocate funds, yeah.
That and
Just move
the
money
that and the
around.
secretary, highway secretary.
But the position still exists, they're just not filled or funded.
Right, okay.
Ashley says she's going to shoot out an email and try to get special meeting.
Thank you.
There you
Okay,
go.
we're going to turn
You have
page, I
influence.
think.
Yeah, Brenda does. Brenda said.
Assuming you say it.
Brenda says call a meeting now. That's what.
One county highway or 3 districts, I think we'll just discuss that really.
Yeah.
There'll be a transition, but this is something we are going to have to discuss, because if we're still going to go with this idea of 40-30-30, or regardless of the division of monies, you effectively have kept 3 county highways.
But I think that's kind of that administrative meeting with sit down with Mike and the 3 of
Yeah,
us.
I think so, and yeah.
And we all just kind of discuss it and throw out our 2 cents, and
It's
everybody
it's an operational thing,
and everybody
sure.
just kind of say, hey, this is what we think, and Mike can go, that's a stupid idea, it's a great idea, or.
I
So-
agree with that, yeah.
County asset management plan.
Had a meeting with Thrive, I don't know when now, Friday, Thursday, last week. There's gaps in the information that Thrive did not pick up. Those have been identified, and Thrive is now in the next month or 2 will be going out and collecting those data gaps and bringing them back in. There's some discrepancies in what LTAP has as far as, or NDOT has, with regard to road miles and to what the asset management plan has to date. Some of it has to do with those data gaps, some of it has to do with being able to make corrections to that, and it's going to be a little bit of a difficult task, because NDOT's had this information, however they got it, for years now, and so it's not such an easy process to make any changes there going forward, but hopefully we'll be able to do that. Hoping to have come July, we'll have the asset management plan where we can just manipulate it at that point. So it'll be, the hard task is going to be over in a month or 2, probably 2 months. And then it'll be a matter of sitting down and deciding how we want to manipulate the data to give us how we want to fund things going forward, and what we need to do as far as maintenance, preventive maintenance, bridges. Some council members have been asking for that information. We have it, but not in it's a laborious process to go through right now to be able to do that. Once we get the database in place, it'll allow us to do a lot of what-if scenarios and to be able to change things, and it rolled down fairly quickly at that point to be able to make better decisions going forward anyway. So that's
Work in progress.
work in progress.
Next, we had the IT committee. I was in favor of doing the first one that you had,
Like that one.
so. Is it okay with you guys?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, did you make changes to it to make it specific to this county, or do you
No,
want me
I
to do
didn't.
that? I'll work on it.
Just plug in the different names in it. I'd like to inform them that they're officially a group, and send them a copy of whichever we have to each member. Let them know they can get started.
We might want to name a chairman. They can change the chairman later, but at least name a chairman to get them rolling anyway.
Okay.
You can pick whoever you choose.
Kind of like for them to get together and make their own
I'll just
decisions.
name somebody in the interim so that they can get it
Okay.
started.
A point of contact till they
The problem
organize.
I had with GIS was that we named 3 guys to GIS, but then nobody was in charge, so I said, okay, Mike Phelps is in charge. If you want to change it later between the 3 of you, but.
I want to say, since are we done with that? We'll send something out to them and move on. I met yesterday with the building inspector, Mr. Meyer, again yesterday, and had a good conversation with him. He's a very, very knowledgeable person. He's a retired engineer, not really retired, he's still active, he's a surveyor. I think that this fit that we've got on this building inspector we've got a good one. And we talked, I've done construction practically all my life too, and talked to him about everything from concrete, you name it. We talked about it yesterday and got a good feel. I had told him, I said, it'd be best for him to go around and visit, especially these contractors who are building. Go around and talk to them, and identify yourself, and let him know what he expects out of them. I think it's something that's a real shock to people in Vermilion County when there's an inspector coming to look at their work. And I think it's a big positive move for us, but yet I also want it to be in a very positive way, where they know it's coming and they can get familiar with him. So he's been very, very receptive about what he's doing. I thought it was funny yesterday. He's doing some surveying, and he said, you know what GIS stands for? It says get it surveyed. So I thought it was kind of funny, because people look at the GIS and on a map, and that's my property line right there, and they look at that GIS and they think it's it. It's just for reference. All it's for. It's not for a point of survey. I thought it was funny. He said GIS means get it surveyed, which means a lot of truth to that. But I'm really happy with him. I'm really happy with him to have someone that knows what they're doing and been around building, and I mean, he's inspected a lot of stuff in his life, and so it's important to have someone who's knowledgeable and experienced, and I think that's going to be a big asset to our county. So if you see him out, tell him welcome aboard. DocuSign, is that Kylie? You got something on that?
Yep, he emailed me and there was a meeting today at, I think it was 3:30?
So is that gonna be like a Zoom meeting, or?
Yes,
And he'll send out a link and an email, or you guys will, or somebody?
yep.
Okay, I'll try to.
He did send it out already.
Did he? Okay,
Yep.
sweet.
And that's X amount for X days, or
Mhm.
Have you tested it yet, or has anybody tested?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
You don't have
I've
enough time
used
for it?
DocuSign a lot, but
Yeah.
if I've never initiated it,
Yeah, I
I've
don't-
used it, I've never initiated it, it's not.
I think it's a great
super.
thing
I
to
think
do.
it's super simple. I closed on a piece of property. The whole title deal was all online. Everything was DocuSign. It was done. I mean, it was probably less than 5 minutes. I was like, heck, going with a.
all of us are so
title
busy.
company anymore.
Everyone's busy.
It's at 3:30.
3:30. Okay. in my old age, Kylie, if you could send me a reminding, or
Careful,
like,
old age.
or Brenda, if Brenda wants to send me a reminding text at like 3 o'clock and says, hey, we have a Zoom meeting at 3:30.
You better be careful, in a year or two, Alzheimer's sets in.
I'm already forgetful now, Britton.
I was working last night till 2 o'clock in the morning, and RJ trying to get home. I got ready to text him. I thought, I can't do this. This is too late.
At 2 in the morning, I would not have answered.
And I work nights and days, and a lot of times I'm at work at night, and I'm doing these texts, and I'm sending them out. I'm thinking, these people are in bed. I don't even think about it. But, you know, when you got crazy schedules like me, it's hard to keep up. Okay, the document scanning. The first company we had in, they backed off, didn't they?
They didn't believe that they backed out. So, DocuSign, they sent us some dates. I don't recall what those are, but I forwarded them. We need to decide where we're going with this. So,
How much reception have we had? I know, Brenda, you're in favor of your office of doing it, correct?
Well, some of the documents can be and some of them can't. If they're gonna rip open those books, that's
Yeah.
not a good idea.
I know the clerk's
This is-
office has asked a couple times about it.
yeah, SBS Portals is currently doing, or did do, the clerk's office and I think some of the recorder's office. They've already been involved in the county government already. The thing is that we've never come to any agreement with them to do anything. It's up to each office holder
Yeah.
to decide what they're going to do with their record. It's
So
not
why,
up to us.
So why are we really doing it then?
But
If it's-
because we want to get a standard here where we can decide that we want things, how we want them recorded, so that we understand, so that when there's a change in the auditor, nobody knows what happens.
Right,
When a
okay.
change in the recorder, nobody knows what happened. So we would like to have a standard. And also, it's a matter of also what can we put on, the more important, as important, I guess, not more important, is that we've got records sitting up here in 3 different offices that are taking up a lot of valuable space, that we can use for our, either for different offices anyway. We have a space needs here, and if we can take those records and put them online, a couple of things happen. One, it opens up that space that we can use it now for like the not public defender, but the probation office. Instead of them being crowded into Cupola upstairs, they can actually take over some office space that's adjacent to them instead of books sitting in there. The other thing is that it allows for people to come in and to be able to do searches, and those searches can be done.
That's important.
Yeah, and but it is up to the office holders. If you don't want to tear books apart to be able to scan them, you got a choice. You can do it page by page by page. Well, most likely that's going to be too expensive, so they'll have to make a decision as to what can go online and what won't go online, and what is searchable and what's not searchable, what is required.
Deprioritize, you know.
Everything. It's up to the office holders, but if we have a base set and a place where all these documents are going, we don't have to go to 3 different companies to find out where the information's at. And I think that's important, to be able to consolidate this and understand where each office holder is having the information reside. And then I would hope that by combining the different offices that we will have a better rate, as opposed to, I want 1 page that's going to cost me $1, and so if we combine 2 of them, we can get it done for 20 cents a page. So hopefully there's a value in volume of being able to do that. But anyway, it would set a standard as opposed to everybody just going off on their own and who knows where it's at.
Next item, announcements of traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall, will be June 9th to 11th. Time
We are
9
looking for volunteers for that as well to assist with it.
Time 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Location is International Paper. You do the shortcut off of 63 going through Hillsdale. That's International Papers. They have their park right there. That's where it's going to be. And as Britton said, they're looking for volunteers. I think Becky Holbert is she heading that up. So
I believe so.
if you can volunteer for that, it's a good project locally. And coming up. Next, we got public comment. Anybody else? Looks like we got a crowd here waiting to speak. We're making it to 10 o'clock. We're doing well. Anybody else? Public comment? If not, we got a motion to.
Before we motion to adjourn, I wanted to speak on a couple things, Tim, which I'll be very brief. David Porter on the properties.
Oh, yeah, I got it right here.
I would like to maybe get with him, get him on the agenda next meeting. And speaking of that, I do have a list I'm going to send out to you guys today of all the Board of Commissioners properties for you guys to review and look at and say, why do we have this in the middle of the field? Is this one next to the river something we should keep? And I think we need to look at that and maybe sell the properties that are no longer, creating revenue for the county. So I'll send that out today for you guys to review. Other thing, me and Britton briefly talked. Tim, I don't know if you were in on this morning. He mentioned about starting the commissioners' meetings in the morning at 9 a.m. instead of 8:30. Didn't know if you'd be opposed to that. But with that, I would also like to put a time limit on our meetings. That way, I think it would force our hand as commissioners to prioritize certain items. If someone wants to be on the agenda, maybe go, well, can this be administratively done? Can this, be sent in an email? Do we need a 25-minute discussion in a meeting? Things like that. So I'd like for you guys to consider that, or B, if you guys are open to it, I would be open to amending the meeting schedule today. If we would be amenable for a time limit on it, I'd be amenable to going to a 9 a.m. meeting. If Britton wanted that, I'd be open to going to a 9:30 meeting if we're going to go an hour only, and then everyone pretty much knows that we're going to be out of here. And there's going to be times if you have public comment, things may run a little bit over an hour, but we already limit public comment, I think, to 5 minutes or less anyway, or at least most times. So I want to bring that up for discussion. If anybody
I like that idea. 9:30 is great for me. Restrict it to we'll try to make an hour.
Yeah, I would. I would be. Yeah,
up to the commissioners to extend it. But.
Yeah, I would like to. That way, when we're looking at this agenda, whether it's Tim being the president overseeing it, or Kylie and Brenda looking at it, and Brenda saying, "Tim, we've got an hour here. There's no way we can have 25 items here. What's the priorities tonight?"
Well, the other thing I think you hit on is administrative. There's a number of things that come up in here that are administrative line items, and not anything
that could just be administratively done. Well, if you're in favor of it, are you?
No, but yeah.
Were you in favor of it?
Is that going to do anything different with the night meetings or just the day meeting?
Night meetings start at 9:30. I'm sorry.
Well, I think Tim, the night meetings you're working most of them, aren't you? And you're getting off at 6 to. So we couldn't change any earlier, but
we can
the hour. I would like the hour to also.
You can move to 7 o'clock if you want to, but not the other way.
No, 6.
I think 6:30 is, but I would like to do the hour for the evening as well. I think if it's amenable today, I would like to make a motion that we amend the county commissioners meeting schedule for morning meetings to start at 9:30, 9:30 a.m. and leave the evening meetings at 6:30 p.m. with the caveat that we are limiting it to 1 hour for our commissioners meetings. That way we can be a little more prudent with.
At the president's discretion.
At the president.
I wouldn't be in favor of the hour and a half max. Like today, we had a good meeting, an hour and a half.
Well, I think the hour is just. I think
it makes us concise.
I think it's concise, and at the president's discretion, you can say, yeah, maybe we can go hour 15 today. This isn't gavel the meeting at 1 hour at 7:30, but it gives us a time to go, okay, we're 30 minutes in the meeting and we're only on.
It's an understanding that we're going to try to get our work done in an hour and a half time frame.
That's my motion.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
None other than I think it'll make us be more concise and a little bit more, I don't know what word I'm looking for now, but anyway, when I think
I'll go
let
along
you
with
know.
it. It kind of messes my morning up because I got to come in the middle of the morning, and by the time I get my whole half a day is gone. So, but that's fine. I'll work with you.
Thank you.
We'll get you out here in an hour, Tim. You'll be out here by 10:30.
Almost the same time.
Yeah.
Call for the vote.
Fine with me. I'm not hard to get along with.
Or just by agreement, we're going to agree?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it, yeah.
By agreement, we agree.
I will say this letter I got from the Porters. There's 2 properties identified here. I can send you guys the emails on them that showed the partial numbers. I know this man and woman are great people in the local community. They're historian, preservation type people. His wife her degree is in partly historical preservations of stuff. So to have someone that's interested in local property in the town of Cayuga putting it back and making a piece of property workable and used for the public is a great thing to do. 2 parcels that that they requested, and both these been up for the tax sale, and they're offering $500 a piece for each one of them. So it's something that I'd like to, is like RJ said, we'd like to
So it's
see.
discretionary at this point, correct?
Yeah, you tried to sell it to the public, and the public didn't want it, so.
I mean, like today, could we make that decision and move on?
I think you ought to make the decision in public, just in case there's someone else out there that would have an objection, that they had an opportunity
Okay.
to know it was on the agenda and come to a meeting and say something.
Okay, so how do I do that today? Just say.
We've discussed it today.
Okay.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting, and then
Okay.
2 weeks from now, vote on it and make a decision.
Does that still work for them, the porters? and-
I think so. I think they're very, because I think if anything, they were just gonna wait till it went through a whole nother sale again, because I don't think they wanted to. I wouldn't want to pay the taxes they were back owed on. I'd wait
Or
for
take the
another
responsibility of
commissioner
building.
Have they done their due diligence? and
Yeah, I
all
think,
that?
I believe so. They're ready to,
They've already bought one of them, the
Okay.
hotel.
yeah.
They're working on that one.
Well, excellent. I hope that they're successful.
And only other thing I had, Tim, before we go.
Put it on
I-
next meeting.
I did email John Spur and some attorneys, and this is just a proposal I'm working on. I'm going to bring to you guys here in the next maybe month. You know, big corporations, you know, we're always, you know, doing tax abatements, helping them out. I'm looking and copying off some of their counties and even some states that have offered credits or some type of help for small businesses, because they are the backbone of, you know, any community. And it seems like if we can give them any type of help or a resource, and some of them, and they may be available now, but I want to make this a big Vermilion County thing to let these businesses know that we can help them in some way. So I've got some ideas. Scott Craig has shared some really good ideas. John shared some really good stuff with me yesterday. So be on the lookout in a month. I'm going to send a proposal to you guys on that too.
I'm a proponent to that effect. That will require council to.
Council too, yep. But I think it's something that most people could get behind. I really do.
I agree. Also, I would like to, I had it on here at one time that buy Vermilion, it's a goal thing.
Yep.
But I don't know, we were supposed to discuss that last time, I thought, but I guess maybe I didn't get it sent. Maybe I thought I sent it.
Okay.
It's one of those all-timer
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, Terry Carrera here at the courthouse just informed me that we ordered and wanted him to put in a monitoring for all the systems for remote monitoring on the heating system and cooling system, where he has alarms. He can monitor everything on his phone, and he just sent me information that he's got that back up and going now. So that's a big improvement and makes the courthouse run right.
Good deal.
And the other thing, I'm gonna be planting roses out here, or replanting the roses outside, if anybody wants to come out and help me here in a little bit.
I think you're the master gardener, Tim. I won't attempt to do that.
You promised a rose garden, did you?
So we had a motion, didn't we? We
I'll
had
make a
discussion? All in favor?
Oh, did we already? Oh. Did
We
somebody
did
make a
have a
motion?
second, though.
Oh, second. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's not
Meeting adjourned.
10:30
Thank
yet.
you all for attending.